Before the fear kicks in, make sure you subscribe and click that bell notification so you won't miss anything. I recently took up a position working for the Metropolitan Police as a property store clerk and collator. My job was located at one of the large property store depots responsible for the collection and storage of property used as evidence for some of the most notorious criminal convictions in British legal history. The place had the unfortunate nickname of Hammer House of Horror, due to its proximity to the Hammerton Brewery on Roman Lane in North London. One of the things I was asked during my interview which puzzled me greatly was my spiritual and religious beliefs. When I confirmed that I was an atheist who did not believe in the supernatural, I was met with what I thought to be a huge sigh of relief. It was only later that I understood the importance of that question, especially when I found out what happened to the previous property clerk. One collection held in storage areas 12, 12A and 14 were kept in a huge padlocked wire mesh cage built down in the cavernous basement. It consisted of an eclectic mix of the bizarre, tragic and downright gruesome. There seemed to be no relationship between the different property collections and cases held down there, which made no sense to me when order and connection are essential for effective record keeping and collation of information. My main area of responsibility was to maintain this collection and produce property and evidence as requested by the police and the Crown Prosecution Service. As most of the cases had been to court or had remained unsolved and effectively dead, I was not very busy. It left me with a lot of time to think about why these particular cases had been grouped together. File 3427/361, item 021 to 029. These exhibits consist of a baby's cot, cot bedding, teddy bear, baby grow, and a baby monitor. I did not understand why these items were here, but on reading the file, it was a suspect cot death. Forensics analysis found excessive amounts of sputum and saliva on the cot sheet from the poor unfortunate infant. There are also a number of hairs found on the child in the respiratory tract and on the bedding, which took a long time to identify. Eventually, with the help of the Natural History Museum, they were able to determine they were arachnoid in origin, but no explanation was forthcoming as how they got there. For all intents and purposes, it initially looked like the infant had swallowed a spider, but there were no traces of a dead insect found. File 832913B. This case file consists of a blood-stained hammer and a series of photographs of a man with various injuries on his body. The victim was found with his hands pulverised, his ankles hobbled and his teeth all smashed out. The alley where the victim was found was not covered by CCTV and no one was ever caught for the crime. The owner of the hammer was cleared, and even though he was working on a nearby roof, he saw and heard nothing. The victim had a known history of domestic violence, and it was thought that maybe a former girlfriend had found revenge, but the physical force used to inflict the damage was calculated to be well beyond the strength of a human being. Photos, exhibits numbers 013 through to 019 show blooded teeth scattered on the pavement. File 1372, 13C and 13D. A blooded bread knife, a set of Polaroid photos and a memory stick. Strange case, this one. The police were called by the neighbours, who were worried as they had not seen the occupants for a few days. Her father and daughter lived at the property, and when the police had forced entry and found the place completely empty, apart from an envelope of Polaroid photos of a bloody corpse of a woman, totally disemboweled and covered in flies, and more photos of a large and heavily blood-stained bread knife and memory stick. DNA analysis of the blood on the knife revealed the blood of two related individuals, mother and daughter. When the memory stick was analysed, the officer viewing it immediately vomited and had to be relieved. It was a short piece of film revealing a young man smashing a young woman repeatedly in the face, then opening her up from groin to sternum with a large bread knife, then pulling out her intestines while her arms and legs were thrashing as if she was a half-squashed insect. The woman in the Polaroids and the man and young woman on the memory stick have never been found. File 9137 13D. There are only 2 items in a cardboard box for this case: a can of beer and 6 newspaper articles. The beer can, which is such an unlikely item, caused the death of a young man and effectively ended the life of his wife. The articles include a feature on a young woman who spends all her time walking around her local area, and a collection of articles relating to the increasingly large number of young men going missing without a trace. There seemed to be no connection whatsoever between the beer can, the young woman and the missing men. File 8013 13E. A series of photographs of a body on the floor of the local supermarket. The photos showed the corpse was so twisted and contorted that it looked like the subject had been in a serious car crash, as the autopsy confirmed that every bone was broken and the spine had been broken in 3 places. The photos were particularly hard to view as all the limbs had been twisted the wrong way. Bloody broken bone ends pierced through the skin, and the skull had been crushed like an egg. The true horror lies in the eyewitness accounts of what happened. As a crowd of shoppers saw his body inexplicably snap, crack and contort in front of them with no visible external force applied, ending with the skull collapsing in on itself. Apparently the sight was so horrific that an elderly lady, on witnessing the death, had a heart attack afterwards due to shock and died 13 minutes later. Case 5139 13F. The evidence for this gruesome case consists of a blood-caked 40-foot pole and a series of crime scene photos. The pole had to be cut into 4 10-foot sections for storage purposes and to remove the blooded corpse which had been found at its base. The crime scene photos show that the body had been impaled, with the metal passing through the body like a hog roast pig on a spit, nose to tail. Analysis of the blood on the pole was able to show that the blood dried and oxidized at different times, with the older, darker blood being at the top of the pole. This, along with the pattern and direction of the dripping blood, indicated that the body had been lowered onto the pole while it was erect, and gravity acted, pulling the body down the pole slowly to the bottom, like bloody meat sliding down a metal skewer. The police were at a loss as to how the body had been inserted onto the pole in the first place, as the pole was set in concrete and the ground yielded no trace or any vehicle or heavy plant equipment capable of the job. There were no witnesses to the event, despite it being in a built-up area. The young mum who found the corpse needed 6 months of intensive psychiatric therapy, and even now, years later, still cannot talk. No one was ever charged or even arrested for this crime. Case 13666 13G. This collection of exhibits consists of a bloody roll of duct tape, a blood-stained drinking glass, a saucepan encrusted in thick, sticky blood clots, a bloody house brick with traces of hair stuck in the gore, and a blood-caked plastic washing-up bowl and a blooded stained fish knife. The crime scene photos reveal one of the most gruesome and disturbing double murders I have ever witnessed. The crimson gore bathed the room in a sticky mess that drenched the carpet and splashed up the walls. The 2 corpses laid out side by side on the living room floor were mother and son. They had their skulls caved in by repeated blows with a heavy object, later proven to be the house brick. Their throats had been punctured by the fish knife, and it appears attempts had been made to collect the blood and then heat it up. Duct tape had been unsuccessfully applied to the punctured throats to seal them up again. The blood found around the victims' mouths had the same chemical structure as that in the saucepan, so it appeared they had their own boiled blood poured down their throats. The father was found shortly afterwards covered in blood from head to foot, with a beatific smile of such calm serenity that the officer, fooled by the almost trance-like state, failed to notice the fish knife in the father's hand and watched in horror as he proceeded to plunge it 13 times into his own neck before expiring. What was the connection between all of these crimes that they had been collected and catalogued together? There were more, but I could only take so much in one go. I ended up asking the senior property clerk about the collection. He was a pale man with piercing blue eyes and dark red hair. "You are not religious, are you? Not susceptible to suggestion or belief in the paranormal?" He fixed me with a penetrating stare. "No." "Good. You are less likely to be taken over then." "What?" "Yes, this is what happened to your predecessor. Nice man, very religious. Him and his son used to visit door to door spreading the word. In fact, I think it was this place that got to him in the end. So many latent traces of evil and the demonic. I have to keep them locked up. Stop it getting out, as it will try to, given the opportunity, can taint the soul if you believe in that sort of thing. He did. Maybe it made him susceptible to all sorts of bad suggestions." "What the hell do you mean? Who was my predecessor?" The senior clerk's stare drifted into the middle distance as a smile spread across his pale features. "Your predecessor. In a funny way, you've already met him," he said with a chuckle. "Case 13666, that was him." Thanks for watching. Go check out my online horror shop, Clown Merchandise, to protect you from demons. Click the link below. One of you listening right now is going to have me knock on your window in 4, 3, 2,